Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and let's jump back into the promo discussion real quick. Now, I'm coming and going out at the office. I got a couple videos up and a couple coming. There's a lot going on this weekend with Comic-Con. I wanted to address something in the trailer, but with that said, I wanted to pull it and edit it, but like I said, I'm leaving the office, so we're going to do like a little update to go with the trailer. A lot of you guys told me that Negan is actually saying, and I still hear him saying, you think you got all this on luck, but I think you guys are right. He's saying, oh, you think you got all this on lock. Like, you think you got all this on lockdown, right? Like, this is all going good. That's what you think, which does make sense. And this is why I said, I didn't get it when he's saying, oh, you think you got all this on luck. And that's why I said, is Negan saying something good? Maybe showing he's reformed. You know, in the comic, Negan shows two sides. He shows a side where he could be reformed, and then he also shows a side where he's like, yo, Rick, you're just getting this all ready for me to take it back over. So they keep Negan in that ambiguous, is he a good guy now? Is he a bad guy still? So, so one correction, Negan is saying, again, it's still, when I listen to it, he sounds like he's saying, you think you got all this on luck? But I think you guys are right. I think he is saying, oh, you think you got all this on lock? Because it just seems like that would be more of a menacing thing to put in a trailer. It fits the music they got going on. It fits what they're showing. And it does fit the Negan character, antagonizing Rick still. So, all right, so you think you got all that on lockdown. And then Daryl punching this guy. I did not look into this. Now people are saying it was confirmed that he was a savior, which is odd because I could have sworn I never seen a single comment from anyone saying he was a savior. Everyone told me, or tried telling me, I keep telling people, well, if it's not official released, I don't want to know, but things slip through the cracks. A lot of people are saying that he was beta, and now I'm seeing everyone say, oh, it is true, he was a savior. So I'm like, okay, let's go with the savior one. That makes more sense. So he does punch a savior. And this also would make sense because some of the theme this season, we know from the comic material, I won't get into many spoilers here, but some of the theme is conflict within the communities, internal conflict, how they run things. Now, with the structure of a comic book, they focused more on the Hilltop, more specifically on Maggie. Daryl doesn't exist in the comic book, so it is heavily focused on Maggie, and we see where she comes from, and we understand the decision she makes in the comic. So with Daryl being in the show, it makes sense that they would incorporate the conflict the way they are because he's that firecracker type character. You know what I'm saying? So that does absolutely make a lot of sense. And I think utilizing both Maggie and what she's going through, having to lead the Hilltop, maybe it is considered the headquarters of all the communities, and I forgot his name, Gregory would be envious. Keep this in mind. He's looking at it like, okay, Hilltop is the headquarters. I used to be the leader of the Hilltop. If I can be the leader of the Hilltop again, man, I need to get Maggie out of the way, and I can inherit a kingdom. He could take it all over. And it's not always about what they show us in the teasers. Sometimes it's what they don't show us in the teasers. And thankfully, we have the comic material where we can kind of pick out the more potent moments that they usually keep true to the comic book, even when it's remixed. We do know, right now, we can probably say with 100% certainty, Maggie and Gregory are going to come to a head-to-head, and that connects heavily to what they're doing with Daryl. Daryl's another good one, like I said, seeing that he's a firecracker character, he snaps on people, showed in this teaser, using the conflict with Maggie, how she handles the Gregory situation and how that explodes, and then Daryl also, and then with their conflict with keeping Negan alive. This is all building to conflict, to some of the major inner turmoil. Add that to the sanctuary. Some of them may be happy, but maybe underneath they're getting sick of this shit. So they could smile at Rick when he walks by, and then they look at each other and they're like, this is getting old. This is, why are we even here? I don't even want to be here. What are we even doing on this mission? Sure, some of the saviors are going to be fine with it. They're going to be okay with it. But if they are going the comic route, we will see these conflicts within the communities. In the comic book, we had a subtle conflict with Rick and Ezekiel, and again, just super subtle, where Ezekiel was questioning Rick on something, and Rick said, hey, you don't want to trade? We don't have to trade. We'll get our lumber from someone else. And Ezekiel was like, oh, no, do not pull that card. I'm cool. I'm way cool. So I think they'll shift the focus more. And it makes sense to focus the conflict that is already there and more organic in the storyline. And that is what I believe Michonne is saying at this point. And I did get a couple questions about what the hell Michonne is saying here. Let's just play it real quick.
Start talking about making some rules. We need to start talking about making some rules. An agreement between all the communities. Like, this is how we treat each other. And this is what happens when we don't.
So again, I was getting a lot of questions about whether or not, I'm sorry, what the hell Michonne was even talking about. And she's essentially saying that rules big and small. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I know when I'm talking to some people, they look at it like, yeah, obviously you get a bad guy roll through and you got to stop them. You know what I mean? But she's talking about more than that. She's talking about the little rules as well as the big rules. When you have this camp and you have an argument, fine, it's argument. No one cares. They walk away, it's fine. But then you got Daryl punching this guy. And then you get into the rules of assault. Daryl shouldn't be punching him. Well, what's the punishment? Is it labor? Is it, a little prison? Do you sit in prison overnight? Is it a fine? Is there money? I mean, how do people barter and trade? So that's the big thing. And I think that is an interesting theme. That's going to be one of those, it's not the main theme of the show. It's an underlining theme. Again, a lot of the conflict will take over, especially with villains and the more dangerous and fatal conflicts. But this is an interesting thing to see our characters handle, as far as now that they have this civilization. It's not going to be all good. Everyone's not going to just immediately get along. So you're going to have these little outbursts. What do you do in that case? Even when it's one of our own, when they do something they shouldn't do. And again, when they get new people in, if, however this is structured, if you work for your food, whatever type of, economy they build up as far as creating their own, I guess it would make sense. We would see them eventually start creating their own money. You know what I'm saying? What if people start stealing? What if people steal food? What if people steal this? What do? It only goes so far saying, stop doing that. Don't do that. We don't do that here. And that is something they have done in the past. Like, oh, hey, listen, we are a camp. We are a group. We are a family. We're survivors. We stick together. We don't treat each other like that. That is how they would handle things in the past, but that's because it was simplified then. It was more chaotic then. It was more like the Wild West, Or maybe even crazier than the Wild West, you know what I'm saying? Now they have this structure, this setup, and now it's time for them to say, if someone breaks something small, we need to be able to handle that too. We need to be able to have a system set in place. So anyway, there's another video I want to get to. So I'm having this scheduled for an hour. I got to run out of the house, so I have this scheduled for an hour, and then maybe 2 hours after that, I'm going to have the other video scheduled. That's a big one. It's a Robert Kirkman interview. I think it is a bit misleading, but also it is still frustrating. But there's one huge piece of information that I don't think a lot of people are considering, so hopefully I'll be able to add something to that video. So stay tuned, check back on the channel. We got a lot of videos coming this week, and then pretty much from here on out until The Walking Dead returns, lots of different stuff, Walking Dead related, horror related, and then some vlog type, some different stuff. A lot of stuff coming. Thoughts and opinions in that comment box. Again, thank you very much for the corrections. I appreciate it a lot. So thoughts and opinions down there. I'm done talking. It is your turn.